Good evening, welcome to Nutrition News. Today we're here with a very special guest, Tiffany Gonzalez, a Cal Poly graduate and a clinical dietitian at Cerro Vista. Let's jump to the scene where the news reporter, Lindsay Ritchie, has the inside scoop on this story.
Hi Tiffany, I'm Lindsay.
Hello.
First of all, thank you so much for meeting with us today and giving us the opportunity to look into your career a little bit better and get to know the role as a clinical dietitian a little bit better.
It's my pleasure.
Great. We're going to jump right into some questions that help me understand your responsibilities as a clinical RD. So first of all, was it always your intention to be a clinical RD, or when you were in school did you kind of have a different idea of what you wanted to do?
When I was in school, I did not think I would want to be a clinical dietitian. I thought I would do something more with the maternal and child nutrition aspect of things. And then once I was in my internship and I had a clinical rotation, that's when I realized that this is what I love to do. So that's how I got into it.
Perfect. So do you have a daily routine as a clinical RD? Is it about the same every day? And if so, can you walk us through a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, there's definitely a set kind of system that I go through every day. I get here in the morning and I look through the patients who are here and who are admitted. I look through their diagnoses and try to figure out who's at a higher nutrition risk based on different policies that we have. I'll get consults based on some admission criteria that nursing will let me know about for patients who are at higher nutrition risk, or consults from doctors. I'll get consults if patients are on tube feeding or TPN. So I'll go through my list of patients and figure out who I'll be assessing that day, go through their charts, look them up on the electronic medical record, interview the patients, talk with nursing. I go to rounds every day in the morning and learn what's going on with the patients, and then I'll document on what my interventions and my plans are with the patients.
So you basically follow them through each step of the way while they're in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Is there ever an opportunity where you don't assess the patient within a 48-hour period?
Yeah, that will definitely happen. So patients who are at a lower nutrition risk, say somebody came in with a broken leg and they ended up maybe with a blood clot or something that doesn't put them at a high nutrition risk, they might be in and out of the hospital within 3 or 4 days, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they aren't somebody who's at the top of my list to assess. So part of our policy is that our average length of stay here at the hospital is about 5 days. So if a patient hasn't been seen by me before that 5 days and they're still here at the 5-day mark, then I would assess them, but those are typically patients who are at a lower nutrition risk.
Okay.
So within 48 hours would be somebody who's maybe lost a lot of weight, had a lot of nausea and vomiting, somebody who's on tube feeds at home, something like that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's so interesting. Who do you work most closely with here in the hospital?
Most closely I work with nursing. Of course I work, with the doctors and with pharmacy and speech pathologists, but nursing is my go-to discipline to learn what's been going on with the patient most recently, or what the trend has been the past couple days. So nurses are really, really valuable. They always know what's going on.
Perfect. Great. So what's most satisfying about your job as a clinical RD?
The most satisfying moments come when I have patients who maybe have a chronic disease, a chronic illness, and I go to educate them about their nutrition requirements with their disease, and they get it, and they're tracking with me, and they're trying to make changes, and they have family there who's also supporting them, and they're willing to work with the patient. And I find those times are extremely satisfying. But I also feel very satisfied, like in a critical care unit, if I have an intubated patient who's on nutrition support, and I get to work really closely with the doctors and the pharmacists to help that patient with healing by ensuring that they receive adequate nutrition even though they can't eat by mouth. So I find that end to be very satisfying as well. I mean, every day there's always little victories in the hospital.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. And then I know as a clinical dietitian it can be pretty stressful. So do you have any most dissatisfying moments in the hospital?
I wouldn't say dissatisfying, but there are definitely frustrating moments, and that really just depends on the patient, really, because if the patient is repeatedly in the hospital because, you know, they're not willing to comply with the medications they should be taking or the diet they should be following, and then they keep coming in with different, different complications of their diseases. I find that to be frustrating, not necessarily dissatisfying, but it makes my job a little harder.
Okay. And lastly, what would you say to a nutrition student who is considering a career in the hospital setting?
I would say that I love working in the hospital setting. I would say it's not for everyone. Don't assume it's just for you. But during your dietetic internship, take that time, take that clinical rotation to really see if this is where you fit, because it's not for everybody. But it is a job that's very satisfying. It requires a lot of thinking on your feet and critical thinking and deciding what is most important for the patient at that time, and the ability to work with other disciplines and knowing that other people know more things about different things than you do. I don't know if that makes sense, but you need to be willing to work as a team with other disciplines within the hospital. It's very, very rewarding, but it is, it's not for everybody. It's definitely a numbers game in the hospital too. We do a lot of math, so be prepared to use your calculator on a regular basis.
Gotcha. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to learn a little bit more about this role.
No problem. Thanks for asking.
Great. Back to you, Cynthia.
That concludes our story for the evening. I am Cynthia Santi with Nutrition News. Good night.